I was right. I was almost always right. Ask anyone who knew me back then. They'll tell you. Walter could argue the sun out of the sky and make you feel stupid for ever thinking it would rise again. That's what my brother used to say about me. He meant it as a compliment. I took it as one. For 40 years, I took it as one. And it cost me the only thing that ever actually mattered. My name is Walter. I'm 80 years old. And I need to tell you something that took me most of my life to understand. Being right is one of the most dangerous things a person can be. I grew up in a household where arguments were currency. My father was a sharp man, quick, precise. He could dismantle any position you held in about 4 sentences flat. And growing up, I watched him win at the dinner table, win with the neighbors, win with my mother, always win. And I thought that was strength. I thought that was what a man looked like, so I became him. By the time I was in my mid-20s, I had my father's gift and none of his awareness of what it cost. I met my wife Helen at 26. She was warm where I was sharp, patient where I was quick. She saw the best in people before she saw anything else. We were different in almost every way that mattered, and in the beginning, those differences felt like balance. She'd soften what I sharpened, I'd focus what she scattered. We worked. At least, I thought we worked. But somewhere around year 3 of our marriage, a pattern settled in. We'd disagree about something, and I'd win. Every time. Not because Helen wasn't smart. She was brilliant in ways I wasn't and never will be, but because she was kind, and kind people, they eventually stop fighting someone who always has to win. They get tired, they go quiet, and you stand there thinking, I won again, not realizing for a single second that their silence isn't surrender, it's something breaking. I want to tell you about a Tuesday evening in the spring of 1987. We had been married for about 9 years. Helen wanted to move closer to her mother. Her mother was getting older, starting to need help, and Helen wanted to be nearby. I had reasons why it didn't make sense. The commute, the cost, the timing wasn't right. Good reasons, logical reasons. I laid them all out clearly and calmly. Helen listened, and then she said something quietly. She said, Walter, for once, can you just consider what I need? I told her I was considering it. I had considered it, and logically the answer was no. She nodded, went to the kitchen, started washing dishes, and I sat there thinking I handled that well. We didn't move. Helen's mother passed 4 years later. Helen never got those 4 years close to her, and she never forgot that Tuesday evening. Neither did I. Not for the right reasons, though, not until it was far too late. Here is what nobody told me about always being right. Every time you win an argument with someone you love, you don't just win the argument, you win a small piece of their trust, and you keep it. They don't get it back. And after years and years of winning, after hundreds of small victories that felt like nothing at the time, you look up one day and realize the person across from you has stopped bringing things to you, stopped asking, stopped sharing, stopped hoping you might see things differently. Not because they stopped caring, because they got tired of losing. And a person who has stopped bringing you their hopes and fears and needs, that person is already halfway gone. I just couldn't see it. Helen asked me for a divorce when I was 63. We had been married for 37 years. I didn't see it coming. And when she sat down and told me, my first instinct, God help me, was to argue, to explain why she was wrong, to lay out all the reasons this didn't make sense. Old habits. She looked at me across the kitchen table and she said something I've turned over in my mind every single day since. She said, "Walter, I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm telling you how I feel, and I need you to just hear me. For once in our entire marriage, just hear me." I opened my mouth, and for the first time in 37 years, I closed it again, and I listened, really listened. She talked for 2 hours, about Tuesday evenings I had forgotten, about things she had stopped bringing to me years ago, about the slow, quiet accumulation of always losing, about feeling invisible in her own marriage, about a woman who had loved a sharp, stubborn man for 37 years and worn herself down to nothing, trying to be heard by him. I sat there and I listened, and somewhere in that 2 hours, the armor cracked. Not because she said anything I could argue with, because she said everything I couldn't. We divorced. I won't pretend it was clean or easy or without pain. It wasn't. Our kids took it hard, and in the years after, I had a lot of very quiet evenings to think about my father and his sharp tongue and all his victories, about what his winning had cost our family, about the pattern I had inherited and never once questioned, about Helen's face on that Tuesday evening in 1987. Can you just consider what I need? I couldn't. Not then. Not for 37 years. Here is what I know now. The need to be right. It isn't strength. I thought it was my whole life. It isn't. It's fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being vulnerable. Fear of what happens if you put down your armor and let someone else's reality be just as valid as your own. Real strength is saying, "Tell me more." Real strength is sitting across from the person you love and letting their truth land without immediately building a defense against it. Real strength is understanding that in a marriage, in any real relationship, there are no winners. There is only us, or there isn't. Helen and I, there wasn't. And it was my fault. Not because I was always wrong, but because I was always right. I'm 80 years old now. Helen remarried. She seems happy. I genuinely hope she is. I sit some evenings on my porch and I think about 40 years of arguments. And you know what I remember? Not a single one. Not one argument I won. Not one position I defended. Not one point I proved. All gone. But I remember Tuesday evening in 1987 like it was this morning. Can you just consider what I need? That's what stays, not the victories. The moments I refused to lose and lost everything instead. So let me ask you something. Is there someone in your life right now who has gone quiet, who used to bring you things and stopped, who used to push back and doesn't anymore? Because if there is, their silence isn't peace, it's the sound of something leaving. Put down the argument, just for tonight. Ask them how they feel, and then don't respond. Just listen. It's the hardest thing I never learned to do. Don't wait until you're 80 to figure that out. If this landed somewhere real in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more honest conversations from someone who learned everything the hard way, subscribe. Stay a while, I've still got things left to say. And unlike me in my younger years, I promise I'll keep it honest.